So we're going to cover the conventional deadlift. I'm going to have Laura demonstrate in a minute, but let's cover some of the things that we see people, some of the common mistakes that we see people make. In a conventional deadlift, a lot of times people put their feet too wide. They tend to go towards like a clean and jerk stance. A lot of people, I believe, for the conventional deadlift, pull a lot of their inspiration or thought from it from Olympic lifting, okay? But in Olympic lifting, you have to worry about a second pull. In powerlifting, you do not have a second pull. You only have one pull. So instead of the wider stance, we go with a little bit narrower stance. And then when we look at our grip, most people would go with, they do a clean and jerk grip, which would be a little bit wider. But when the grip is wider, it pulls you onto the ball of your feet, into your toes, chest over the bar too much. We bring the grip in narrow. We want the grip right to our sides, okay? So if you notice, Laura's on the edge of the smooth and the knurling. Now, that would be where 90% plus people will pull from. Some people will try to pull narrower, but they'll end up getting caught on their lats and can't lock the weight out the top. The only people that would go wider than that, you see really big muscular guys that have really wide backs. If they can't clear their lats, then they want their hands a little wider. Essentially, you want the hands to go straight down because your arms are supposed to be hooks and as long as possible to get the optimal leverage for the lift. When we're pulling in a deadlift, we don't want to be in the balls of the feet and the toes of the feet. We want to be in the heels. One of the tricks that we use sometimes if people aren't doing that is we have them pick their big toe off the ground when they pull. It tends to get them to lean back and onto their heels, put pressure through their heels. So I'm going to have Laura demonstrate a deadlift, a conventional deadlift done properly, and she'll show you how to set up a belt too.
First, when we talk about the belt, we typically use a belt above 80% in the lift. We don't want to use it too much to get too used to using a belt. You want to have built strong abs. So the belt is just a reminder of something to push your abs onto. So you don't want to, so we want to make it nice and tight. And for me, I like to push it down like right above my hip bones. Some people like to wear it a little bit higher, depends on what's comfortable to you, but you want to pull it nice and tight. It's just a reminder of something to brace your abs onto. So you want to pull it nice and tight, keep it low. Yeah, there's really not much to talk about with the belt other than using it above 80%. I don't like to use it too early because people start to rely on the belt. It's not there necessarily for safety, it's just a reminder of something to push your abs onto.
So again, she'll take a narrow stance. Feet kind of in line in the shoulders, not shoulder width, and then her hands will be on the edge of the smooth and knurling. Most people put their hips too low, so you notice her hips will be a little bit higher. She'll get into the heels, pull the slack out of the bar, and she'll pull. Because of her hips being a little higher than what most people pull from, you'll notice that her hips get to the bar very fast. There's a snap in the hips, okay? Now, what most people do, if you want to show the hips a little too low, most people go towards what I'd call an Olympic lifting style deadlift. Now, this makes sure that the femur is longer, the hips are farther behind the bar, and since the hips are farther behind the bar will be slower coming off the ground. If you're slow in the initial pull, you either have weak abs or your hips are too low, okay? So when she pulls from the hips low, you can pull from there. You'll see she has to come around the knees. It costs her speed through the hips. Now she's gonna put the bar down. She'll pull from a hip higher position, which is optimal, and you'll see the hips come through better. You see the snap and engagement of the hips there that you would not have if the hips are lower. So most people will go with the hips too low. I suggest you put your phone or a camera and video from the side and you can see your hip angle and make adjustments from there when you're working on your own technique.
What I try to think about doing too in the deadlift is when I grab, I pull the slack out of the bar. When I pull the slack out of the bar like that, I engage my hamstrings. By pulling the slack out of the bar, it eliminates that jerk into the bar. Everything's loaded and tight. It's like a spring load. It's loaded and tight. Load, pull to your knees, then finish with your hips. A lot of people, when they pull a deadlift, they pull real high with their shoulders. That's not a finished lift. A finished lift is straight up and down like this. So you want to minimize, you want to optimize the movement by pulling to your knees and then pop your hips to the bar.
Now, she's trying to fit her body within inside of her arm, so she's trying to pull the bar the shortest amount of distance off the ground that she can. So if she keeps pulling farther back, she's going to have to pull for a farther distance, where like she was showing you, the snap in the hips, she fits within inside of her arms, it's inside of her body, and she doesn't actually pull that much farther off the ground from that point on. And we get optimal hip engagement.
Also think about your upper back too. A lot of people really, even if they keep the hip in the position we're talking about, they tend to overextend with their upper back. So they really try to flatten out their back too much. In the conventional deadlift, you can actually let your shoulders come forward. People talk about, you know, rounded back. You're not trying to round your back. You're not disengaging your abs. you're trying to let your shoulders pull forward for a more optimal leverage. So my lats are still tight, but I'm letting my shoulders pull forward so I can get my hips to the bar faster. So I engage my lats here. So I'm already loaded right here with my lats. As I grab the bar, ledge in. My head is neutral. I never do this. A lot of times I see people here at the bottom. Anytime you do that with your spine, anytime you do that with your neck, you're shutting down power. So keeping a more neutral head position will help you be more powerful. So you're not going to throw your head back when you come up, you're going to pull your shoulders back really fast. Here. My shoulders are forward, but my lats are tight.
So when we're looking at a conventional pull, there's we have to look at the grip, okay? The grip that Laura was showing was a one hand over, one hand under. You can hook grip it, or you can do a hand over, a hand under. Hook grip works well, but some people will have problems with if they lift heavy enough, their thumbnails can come off, or they have a lot of pain. It's just uncomfortable for them. So if you've never pulled this way before, I suggest you put your dominant hand over, non-dominant hand under. If you are slow off the ground in a deadlift, it is usually either your abs, your abdominal muscles are weak, so you're not creating a good stable base to push off of, or you have a weak grip. If you tend to be a smaller athlete who has small hands, not real big, long fingers, I would start working grip ahead of time because it is going to be a problem for you. If you don't start working it now, you're going to have to work it later, and it's going to take you a while to keep it up, and it's going to slow your deadlift down. So if you have small hands, start working your grip ahead of time. If you're slow off the ground, you have to look at abs or your hands. Now, if you're slow through the middle, what we have to look at is doing sumo max effort deadlifts. So Laura's a sumo puller. She'll pull half of her deadlift technique conventional, half the time in training. The other half will be sumo. Now, they're synergetic, they work together. If you train both, they both go up at a faster rate of speed than if you only train one individually. So if you are a conventional puller and you're slow through the middle, that's where most conventional pullers will miss a weight. By training sumo, it'll make you stronger in the hips, and you will keep more speed through the middle of the lift than if you did not train sumo. So we do train both stances to cause both of them to go up. We don't train just one form of deadlift for our athletes, no matter what they pull in competition.